This has been a topic that has teed up certainly since the end of January, where suddenly federal workers in particular have gone from gainfully employed to suddenly unemployed. So for the thousands of people out there who are affected, they ask, I've lost my government job. What's next for me? Let's get this started. How do we get them beyond the woe of the moment to action?
Yeah, it's such a good question, Dan, and thanks again for queuing this really timely and crucial conversation up for us, for our friends who are joining live, and for those who will join after. If there's one thing I've learned throughout my career, many transitions out of uniform across the US federal government as a career civil servant, working in 7 different federal agencies, to private industry, out of private industry and into business ownership, as well as working for the United States Department of Labor, especially in the Veterans Employment and Training Service space.
Yeah.
I've learned that the answer to this question is a very individualistic answer. So for some of our federal friends, they may have opportunities to take an early buyout, a severance. They may have options like the fork in the road option, which is the deferred resignation program that's new, something we've never heard of before, unprecedented, where this administration was offering up to 8 months of your paycheck, your benefits, while you're able to work another job, transition out of the current job, search for something new, and all of those things. And then others may be navigating difficult decisions altogether, like whether or not they want to take an early retirement and what that could mean in terms of impact to pay and benefits. Perhaps even starting a new business rather than going to work for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I want to just really emphasize the fact that this is an individual decision. It will look different for everybody, and ground us also around thinking about values and leveraging our personal skills that we've acquired throughout our career, education, experience, and our family lives and our personal lives, and what that might mean in terms of possibilities for next steps.
Okay. So the impacted workforce is across several demographic cohorts. It's not just young people, and I want to get to young people in a moment.
Yeah.
It's people at various stages in their lives. They're starting off. Some of them could be seasoned workforce members in in a federal agency. Some might be approaching retirement age. So, of course, the what do I do next options are different for each of those cohorts. Can you address some of that for our audience?
Absolutely. Let's start with early careerist and probationary employees,
Okay.
who, by the way, are not always unseasoned, inexperienced, and
Right.
early young careerists. But let's start with the early careers who might be in their first jobs out of
Mhm.
college or trade school or the military, who just recently joined the United States federal government in the last 1 year or 2 years, depending upon the length of your probationary period and what that might look like if you are a young early careerist. I would say, first and foremost, to lean on your alma mater's career network that might still be available to you if you are a recent-ish graduate. That's a great resource for you to tap into. Often, the schools that you graduate from offer career help to alumni for a certain period of time. That could be a really great resource for you to think about. If you were involved with fraternities, sororities, special
Mhm.
student groups, honor societies, things of that nature, I would tap into those networks as well. And then also thinking about, and this is for any demographic of worker that's being affected now, what are the free resources in terms of employment, transition, coaching, interview skills, resume help that you can tap into? There's a whole lot of resources being thrown at the federal community right now, which is wonderful. But there are some that I want to point out also that could be really useful and helpful when you're thinking about your next move after this unexpected pivot that you're faced with. And that is through the Department of Labor's ONET, which you can access online, through American Job Centers, which there are 2,700 of around
Mhm.
the country and in US territories, where you could get help in terms of being a displaced worker, unemployment benefits, but also training and assistance with your next career move. So that's where I'd start, I think, if I were a newly early career probationary employee faced with job loss.